56.
Where did you get the name for your company?
I'm super creative. Kruse Asset Management. That's all I could muster.
I'm just kidding. What is the favorite part of your job?
Part of my job is, I guess it's creativity. So in finance, it doesn't really seem like a very creative role, but when I started my company, I'd actually think pretty far outside the box in order to be different and be distinctive. So it's the creativity part.
Okay, cool. And what is one of your biggest business successes?
Business successes. Well, I have a bunch of it. I've coming up on my 10-year anniversary, and most companies go out of business. 90+% of companies go out of business within 10 years. So I'm still shaking. You can't hear me? Okay. So we're still going. So I think that's a pretty big success in college.
Okay. What is one book you would recommend to somebody, a lay person, about finance?
Finance. Well, not to be disparaging, but like the finance book for dummies is actually really good. I've read it. It's fantastic. A book that I like is Nate Silver's book that's called The Signal and the Noise. It talks about differences between statistical things that make sense and things that are just anomalies and just noise that people might make decisions off of when they shouldn't be making decisions off of data that they have. So it's a very concise way of explaining in lay people's terms, when you should make choices off of data and when you shouldn't.
And then finally, what is something no one knows about you can't be Kilimanjaro?
All of that, and congratulations to Marty, who came back from Kilimanjaro as well. Fantastic. Something doesn't know about me. I'm not Stuart Kruse. I'm Batman. No, I was born Joseph Kruse. So Joe, you might say J.Stuart Kruse is my name. I was born Joe, and my last name used to be Kruse, but my dad shortened it to Kruse to make it easier. Now everybody calls me Kruse.
Thanks. And Stuart.
Thank you, BNI. Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 simple rules to make you guys a millionaire. How's that sound? Okay. You guys all know me. I'm Stuart Kruse, CFA, and I'm going to go through a little bit of detail about some of my background for those of you who don't know me. 21 years of experience in the field, 17 years in asset management specifically, and 10 years of Kruse Asset Management being alive. So I'm a CFA charter holder. That's about 1% of all financial professionals have a CFA. And this is arguably one of the most difficult standardized exams there is. 3 levels, pass rates on each level is about 40%. You fail, you wait a year to take the next level. You pass, you wait a year to take the next level. To put that in perspective, usually bar exams, some of the tougher ones are around 70% pass rate. So fewer than 3% pass all the way through on the first try. I was fortunate to do that. I have a master's in management from Kellogg Graduate School, concentrations in financing and game theory. So I mention this because a lot of financial advisors and planners do not have this kind of educational background, and it's kind of important for what I do. Also a chemical engineering degree from Northwestern. Go Cats! So first appearance in the NCAA tournament this year, and actually got a win under their belt against Vanderbilt and gave the Zags a pretty good game, so I'm pretty proud of those guys. Okay. I'm going to talk, all that stuff is unimportant really unless I provide results. So here is my QVP strategy, which I mentioned in my wind sprint. So as you can see up there, the red line is the S&P 500 over 12 years. We've had about 84%, and the QVP's returned over 160%, almost doubling the S&P 500. Now to put that in a little bit of perspective, I did a quick search on Morningstar to find out the fund managers in my field that have over 10 years of experience, so there's about 5,900. And there's survivor bias. For those of you who don't know what that means some fund companies will launch a fund, and if the fund does terrible, they close it down. Doesn't seem really fair, but that fund's no longer there. So these are 5,900 funds that are still in existence. So there's a lot more that were opened up. Okay? I match my returns against those 5,900 funds. Can't beat 5,876. That's over 99.4% of those strategies out there. So pretty good. When I say I'm in the top 1%, top 1%. Past discussions that we've had here about diversification, I want to bring this up quickly because it's along the path of how to make you guys a millionaire. A lot of portfolios we see are not really diversified. They look like this. you have 90% equities or some equities and some bonds. Doesn't matter if you have 25, 50 names, 100 names in one asset class. That's not diversification. What we want to do is diversify your portfolio and use a variety of asset classes that do not work in lockstep together. They move in different amounts. That way, it reduces the risk of your portfolio and doesn't jeopardize the returns. And one thing that Kruse Asset Management does is we look at how these things work in real time. So we measure the correlations and coefficients, and this is all math nerdy stuff, but we measure this in real time so that we understand how the client's risk is moving and changing over time. I honestly do not know of any financial advisory firm, big or small, that does this in real time. Okay? So, on to the more important topic. You guys, and how to make you all millionaires. Sound good? Yeah, all right. Okay, so first we're going to have a case study. Let's say you have a broke family member. They've outlived their money. They're going to have to live off the goodwill of others or be dependent upon the government. So who here can come up with $200 a month to help this broke family member? Now, assume you like this guy or girl. Who can come up with $200 a month if you really had to? Okay? All right, excellent. So more people are in this situation than you really realize, because this broke family member could actually be you. So 1/3 of all people have no money saved. So if there's 30 people in this room, not you guys, of course, you guys have got this down, but 30 people in a room, 10 people have no money saved for retirement. 60% have less than $25,000 saved, and if you were to double that at 50, I couldn't retire at $50,000. I don't know about you. I mean, I got 4 kids, so I couldn't retire for a day at $50,000. So what we want to do is, rule number 1, how to make you guys a millionaire? Start with $1 million. No, I'm just kidding. Start with $1 million.
I thought you were going to say start with $10 million.
That is an old joke. How to make a big fortune, how to make a small fortune in the stock market? You start with a large one. Start saving early. That's a big key. Okay? So like now, if you haven't started saving, start now. Pay yourself, pay your future self $10. I don't care what it is. Like you're getting an electric bill or a phone bill. Send a $10 check, $50 check, $100 check. Just start now and see what you guys can save, and pay yourself first, your future self. It's super important. I'll tell you why. So, just like in Chicago politics, you want to save early and save often, which we vote early and vote often. If you started saving $200 a month at a 7% annualized return, this would be your return over time if you started saving at 22. Okay? So you're almost at your $1 million right there. So how is this made up? Oh, well, let's talk about this a little bit. These are actually real data because you don't get a straight line up, right? So this is actually real data which follows this. And keeping in mind, right here, you can't panic when the market's going to go down. But over long periods of time, 30, 40 years, which you want to be saving, you can approximate this 7%. And we're going to stick to that. But let's see how this is made up. These bars are the money that you put into the account. So at the end of your retirement or so, and you're saving $200 a month, that means net you've saved $120,000, but you're at $900. So the rest is made up of cumulative returns and investment. So now think about this. If you stopped early and you didn't save in these beginning years, you actually miss all this return on your portfolio. So it's super important to start saving early. So if I missed a few years, well, you have more expenses. Your rent's probably going to be higher, your house is going to be higher, maybe you have kids, maybe you're married, you have more commitments, you join the family club, golf, bless you. Maybe you have a bunch of other commitments. If you wait 10 years, you have to start saving twice as much in order to get your goal. If you wait 15 years, it'll be 3 times as much. And these numbers don't get any better. And as we all know, your expenses tend to be like air in a room. It expands to fill up whatever money you're making. So if you start saving early and pay yourself, then maybe you can train yourself to put money aside for your future self. Okay, rule number 2, beware of killer fees. So, average expense ratio for a mutual fund is around 1.4%. So what that means is, in order to run a mutual fund, it costs you 1.4% of your returns. So of that 7%, you're really only making 5.6. And how does that affect your fees, or your actual returns? Well, instead of having your $900,000, you're under $600,000 when you come to retirement. That's 37% of your retirement gone in fees. Super important to beware of fees. All right? Everybody's got fees. You're paying an advisor. You can needs to be able to pay for himself, okay? It's very important. Practical terms, that means 8 more years of work for you. If you lose 37%, that means you gotta work another 8 years just to get to where you were on those fees. All right, so what if we outperformed instead of underperformed? So Kruse Asset Management's quantitative strategies average about 5% outperformance. Let's say you're 50% equities, 50% stocks, and that's 2.5% net outperformance. And instead of outperforming at 2.5%, let's say we only do 1.5%, this is what your chart would look like. Instead of your 900,000 or under 600,000 with the fees, if the advisor paid for himself, you'd be over $1.5 million. So that's over 60% more returns, or you can retire 5 or 6 years earlier. Okay, rule number 3, set it and forget it, okay? Oftentimes, individual advisors or individual investors are their own worst enemy. Do-it-yourselfers often do worse than inflation. Their average returns are 2.1% when they do it themselves, okay? They buy high and sell low. That's not what you're supposed to do. They have biases. They get out when they're not supposed to. They're fraught with all sorts of pitfalls that they hear news and then they make decisions in the short term instead of the long term. You'd be better off usually with that underperforming advisor than you would with yourself, okay? It's sad, but it's true. That's what the data says. Now again, not you guys. You guys are different, but all those other guys out there. So investing is a long-term strategy. Don't make short-term decisions based off your long-term strategy. It doesn't matter what happens. I mean, you have a Fed decision, you have Trump as president, you have a building come down in New York. Long-term, these things are short-term events for a long-term strategy. And at the end of the day, the most expensive words on Wall Street are, it's different this time. It's never different. It's always the same. It just takes a little while for it to play out. Okay, so in summary, 3 simple rules to become a millionaire. Rule number 1, save early, save often. Rule number 2, watch out for killer fees. Rule number 3, set it and forget it. And finally, rule number 4, Cam can get you there faster.
That's great.
Any questions? Awesome.
What is the average fee that, and you mentioned the 1.4%, but I guess is that an okay amount that you feel comfortable, if somebody asks you, am I getting taken by this person?
Okay, so industry standard, so that's what it costs to run a mutual fund. Now, as an advisor, Kruse Asset Management could place you, a client, in a bunch of mutual funds that are charging 1.4% that you don't see, that eats away the actual returns. And I failed to mention this, but the average underperformance of a mutual fund, 1.4%. It makes sense because on average, they're going to do average, but then they get set back by their fees, right? So to answer your question, 1.4% is the mutual fund fee that the client pays kind of quietly. Then their advisor on top of that charges 1%. So it makes those numbers even worse, all right? So what I advise, generally if you can, either use ETFs that have very, very, very low fees, or find an advisor, in theory, that can help pay for themselves. So an average standard fee for our industry is about 1% on assets under management. So you give them $1 million, they charge 1%, and that would be $10,000 a year. Okay? It used to be commissions. They would pay for trades, or brokers would pay for trades. And every time I told you, hey, you've got to buy IBM stock, and then I would get paid on that commission. It didn't matter whether IBM went up or down, I just got paid. Now the alignment is, as your portfolio goes up, then my fees go up with it. Okay, so 1% is about industry standard. Yes?
Just one quick question. So with the shift in the political climate, how is that going to impact the fees? Like, I'm not even sure if Dodd-Frank is repealed yet or not, but what happens when those things impact your industry, which is much more to the industry's advantage, I would think.
So I don't think the rules or the political climate is going to change fees, but there is a shift in the industry right now because, as I mentioned in the past, 60 to 80% of fund managers underperform the market because of these fees, right? It's over and over again. So people have started to realize that and said, all right, well, if I can't beat the market, then I'll just join it. I will just be the market. So it's just moved to market ETFs and indexes. And so what's become of that have become these robo-advisors, and they're just trying to do things very low fee, low cost, but the structure itself from a political standpoint hasn't changed. The only thing that's happened on the political side is they've tried to institute a rule called, the Department of Labor has tried to make brokers fiduciaries for retirement accounts only, okay? And as a fiduciary, what that means is fiduciaries have to put the client's need first. Now you would think an advisor always has to do that, but they don't. Brokers only need to provide you with something that's suitable. So if you have two products, something that's suitable and something that is the best in your best interest, and let's say there are two products that are the same. One has fees, one has no fees, but they're the same product, and these exist. Fees and no fees. Same exact product, this is gonna underperform for sure because it has fees. A broker can put you in this product and get paid, whereas a fiduciary has to put you in this product and not get paid. This is still suitable for you, but he can choose something that is going to pay him because it's not necessarily in your best interest. So that's the only political thing that's on the table right now, and the big banks are fighting that tooth and nail so that they can continue to make these fees.
Sure.
My world as a registered investment advisor, we are fiduciaries on all accounts. Okay, so that's a very important distinction. So as a broker, you got to make sure that these big banks are acting in your own best interest.
So your premise is, I'm gonna make you a whole lot more money, so I'm gonna cover the 1.4% or even 2.4%, is that?
Right, so I personally don't use a lot of mutual funds anyway. I will use them when I have to, but we use low cost basis strategies if
And
we
it's
can.
still, I'm gonna make you so much more that you're not even gonna feel this.
Right, exactly right. We pay for ourselves.
I got it, I got it.
Thanks, Stuart.
Stuart.
Cheers.